Hello everybody, this is Evan with Tabletop Gaming Guild, and today I'm bringing you a review of Mutant Year Zero Zone Wars. So Mutant Year Zero is a RPG put out by Free League Publishing, which we previously did a review for on our channel here, and currently on Kickstarter they're doing the Zone Wars, which is actually a tabletop skirmish game. And we're going to be talking about the print and play rules that are actually free to download right now if you want to give this game a try before you head back, or late pledge if late pledge is going to be available later on to get a copy of the hardback rules and the miniatures that they have out there. Before I go into the rules, I will say, going through the Kickstarter page, the miniatures for this game look absolutely phenomenal. A lot of the production quality for Free League, as if you are a loyal member to our channel and watch a lot of our reviews for Free League Publishing material, their stuff is always top notch, so I am sure that this is going to be no different at all. So, getting into Zone Wars here, the print and play here, it overall is about 18 pages long. The last two pages are actually just a scenario, and the page before that is some thanks and stuff like that. So the print and play is very small, very short, very basic, getting you going here. So in this section here, we're going to talk about different factions. So they're breaking this into 4 factions into the actual game itself and into the rules and into the world. As per most of these skirmish-based games, they have right here what you need to play, which for the most part is going to be 2 sets of die of different colors, or if you kickstart and you get the actual die for the game. And why they need to be different colors, I will show you here in the next page or two. You're going to need 2 to 4 players. Hard to play skirmish games, miniature games by yourself. So you need multiple players. A playing surface, this is kind of a 3x3, 4x4 area game. So you need a table area about that big. Something to signify for your miniatures, which you can use miniatures, you can use tokens. With the print and play stuff, they actually give you tokens that you can use for playing if you want to do that. And then there's going to be cards for characters, mutations, modules, artifacts, and zone events. We'll talk about what they are here in this. I'm not going to show you those, but they're available to print. You can just print up what you need as you need them. And then, of course, terrain if you want it. Since this is near future, post-apocalyptic future, whatever you want to call that, you can have as little or as much terrain as you want, because it can be fighting in the plains or it can be urban, whatever you want. So you kind of set up how much terrain you kind of want. So right here, this is why we need 2 different color die. So there's a base die that you're going to use, which is generally what you're going to use for combat or different tests. You're going to need to differentiate that from the gear die. So gear die is what you're going to use when you're using equipment, like armor, weapons. So that's why you need to have them separate. Overall, the facings are very similar. The 6s having the radioactive symbol, 2 to 5 being the regular numbers, and then the 1, which is always bad, they have these symbols here for each one. So overall, you're going to need a handful of die for each one. Like I said, get 2 different color die, you'll be okay, but you can always get the custom die from the publisher itself. So they talk about the measuring and turning and fire arcs, which overall is very similar to a lot of skirmish games. If you play skirmish games or miniature games, you're pretty well used to that. Measuring instruments, so anytime you're going into ranged increments of firing, they've just put it very basic here. Now, as with the RPG, they strip down the attributes to something very basic. So there's only 4 in this game, and that's all you're going to really need. Range, melee, survival, and health. And what they are listed right here. And then you get the attribute rules, how they go. Talk about the mutations and endpoints. So a lot of the things that have survived this long have mutations. So there are a whole list of mutations that are available in the RPG, which are going to be translated into the game itself. So a lot of cool stuff that's going to be happening here. Meat and potatoes of the game here is how the weapons are going to work. So since you're fighting with each other, this is going to be the section here. You're going to talk about range weapons and melee and how they work, how you're going to roll, and what you need to roll. And then they give you a game round flow. Goes through here, all the way here. And it's basically what you do in a round. So This game has variable activation, so whenever you pull a well, every character is going to have a token, basically in a cup, in a hat, whatever device you want to have. When you pull that character's token, they're the one that gets to act. And then here are the actions that you can take. Overall, they're pretty normal for most of these games. And then once you finish all your actions, you can end the round. Now, there's one thing I wish that they kind of moved this part down here. So you can take your action. You can go in Overwatch, which is if something moves directly in front of you later in the turn, you can then take a fire action at that point. Or you can wait, which is putting your token back into the cup and being drawn later. So these are the actions you can take, or you have the two alternate instead of taking one of these here. And notice how it says right there, you can take a 1. So only one of these. So here they're going to talk about the end conditions for the game. So overall, really, it's knock everybody out, wait until somebody retreats, or if you're playing a scenario with objectives, that's what you're looking for. Here they're going to go into the actual actions. What do they entail? And they're pretty self-explanatory. If you've played, like I said, these games before, you're going to understand move and attack, what aim fire, what charging or sprinting are. So I'm not going to really go too much into that here. These are how you do the attacks there. So one important thing to talk about here is when you do the attacks, let's go over this attack summary, because it's going to also explain how why you have those different faces on the die. So when you attack, we'll just run right through here. Indicate who you're attacking, check your range, line of sight, make sure you're within range, you can actually see them. You take the number of die, which is going to be the yellow die, equal to your range stat, if it's range, melee if it's, if you're swinging with a melee weapon. So remember that the base die, the yellow die, is always going to be your base die for anything like your stats and stuff like that. The other die, the black die, the gear die, is for weapons and armor and stuff like that. So you're going to take base die, you're going to take the gear die, and you're going to roll them all together. And then 6s, or the radioactive symbol, are rolled. If you get at least one, you hit. Very much like many of the Free League Publishing games, RPGs, that you're looking for a single success to be successful. Very in line with what they do. Now you're going to now you're going to count up the total number of 6s. That's the amount of potential damage. You can try and push the roll, which is something else that they can do. So anything that isn't on that 1 or the 6 that have the special symbol, if you're using the die, or just on the 1 and 6, you can push and roll, but you're risking inflicting damage to your weapons, collecting M points, which M points I'll talk briefly about, because the section here in the print and play is not very much about the mutations, but mutations into the RPG, you gain M points. M points are what allows you to activate your mutations, but sometimes when you push your rolls, you can involuntarily activate your mutations also. So that's a risk if you decide to push your rolls. Benefit though of pushing your rolls is if you roll really crappy, like I have a tendency to do, it gives me a chance that I can inflict more damage. A lot of times I can roll 10 or 12 die and only get 1 or 2 successes, 1 or 2 6s out of that. So sometimes, a lot of times, I might want to push my luck to try and get more damage out of that. But I always take that risk. Now, whoever gets hit, they're going to roll their gear die for any armor, and then if they get any modifiers, that give them extra die for cover, and likewise, they're going to roll that black, and any 6s they get, they're going to reduce damage. And then you place your damage based off of what the difference is. So melee works almost identical to that. Here's some basically special rules for attacking. Improvised, special, like area effects, knockback for on weapons. Here's the overwatching fire section there. And then when you're taking hits, here's the section that would basically breakdown of how much damage you take, what happens to your armor, and because you do take that risk, you can actually have your stuff get damaged with your armor, and you can get yourself hurt, broken, taken out. There's a couple different things. Now over here, we're going to talk about different terrains. Like I mentioned, you can get terrain that will help you with your armor. So there's a section for that itself. Now there are special card rules, which is where we're talking about the mutations. All right there. They're going to be nice and handy right onto the cards itself, so you can use those for quick reference on that. Artifacts is a very important thing into the game, so it is post-apocalyptic, and artifacts are going to represent things pre-whatever that apocalypse was that happened. And it's stuff that is in still good working order. So they're so rare anymore that you want to find them and bring them back to what's called your Ark. That's the safe area that your faction is from. Here, we're going to talk about finding artifacts and getting them off the table. They're very important. All right, and then you're going to talk about the different things for the zone. Zone is the different areas that you can go out into, and some areas have different things that are not so safe about them. And there's a whole bunch of cards related around that. Also, there are monsters that you could also randomly run into. And like I said, the last section here is a quick scenario and a quick thank you to the game designers. So that's a quick kind of run through here of the print and play. Overall, it's laid out really nicely. You can definitely tell it's a very bare bones version of it. It's enough that you can see what you're kind of getting into without jumping into the game fully. As I mentioned with it, there is a lot into the Kickstarter. The miniatures in there look phenomenal. I have no doubt that Free League Publishing's quality out of this and out of the book is going to be top notch. I did the review for the RPG and I was blown away with what they did with that. So I'm really, really excited to take a look at this and get a deeper look into playing with some of these miniatures, playing with the full set of rules, and seeing what I got. Post-apocalyptic terrain is always going to be fun to play with too, and you got this guy shooting each other with all kinds of different makeshift guns, and then you have a mutation going off. What's not to like? So I'm excited for this one to come out. Can't wait to get this to the table. I'm excited to play a little bit more here with these print and plays, just to kind of get a little taste of this. But hopefully this kind of gives you a good idea of what you're getting into by looking at it. And until later, this is Evan, Tabletop Gaming Guild. Hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, hit the little bell here so you can know when more of our content drops. But until later, have a good day.